Hello everybody, welcome back to the L1 show, Links with Friends. Today is November 6th and we're doing business and social stories for your hump day.
And one of the ongoing struggles, if you are a tech worker, is that they want you to return to the office. And they say that it's better for collaboration, it's better for everybody. Actually, don't even worry about the reasons, just do it because we own you. And some people have been doing some studies.
The Ars Technica headline is over 500 Amazon workers decry non-data-driven logic for 5-day return to office policy. So this is the Andy Jassy era, not the Jeff Bezos era. But what's interesting here is that part of the employee consternation around this is because in the Jeff Bezos era, everything was data-driven. The whole reason that they built EC2 and the Amazon Web Services stuff is because data-driven. And Andy Jassy is just like, I want people to return to the office. But really, it's not that they even want people to return to the office. It's that they want to lay off a bunch of people. So they're trying to make this as awful as possible, hoping that you will just go somewhere else because,
So in a way, it is data-driven.
Yeah.
Because we've looked at the data, and if we abuse you this much, you'll quit. Supermicro is having a rough October, although it's over now, but their problems have not ended.
The headline is Sketchy Financials sends Supermicro auditors running for the hills, meanwhile as they do record business. Or are they doing record business? We don't know. This is interesting because Ernst & Young, was it Ernst & Yeah, Ernst & Young has written them off. Basically, Supermicro published their report, and Ernst & Young was like, we agree with sentence 2 of paragraph 5. We agree with sentence 3 of paragraph 7. And that's all they said. And then they've abandoned them. So to do so in such a spectacular fashion definitely would send a lot of people panicking.
And Hindenburg Research has also accused them of doing things like charging customers before they've actually delivered anything, or reporting numbers that are maybe for next quarter, this quarter, in order to make line go up.
Does Hindenburg actually have any credibility at this point, though? Because like they've been really like trying to blow the whistle on things, and it's like you guys misrepresented stuff, in my opinion.
They nailed the last couple. They're making a lot of money.
I think part of the issue with this is likely to be cultural, because there's a lot of Supermicro that is set up like not an American company, even though it is an American company. And so I think that some of that is like, well, this is how we do things in not America. And it's like, well, this is America. So,
God forbid we make them follow the rules.
Well, I mean, like, I was thinking of the last time something like this happened, and it was Detroit and like the automakers, and like they were materially misrepresenting everything during like, when automotive manufacturing was crashing, and it's like, no, they did some more egregious things, and basically it was okay then for those old guard. It's like, oh, we can't, Ford and GM are fine, and it's like, they were not fine.
You mean when they transferred all of our wealth to save them? You think that was okay?
No, I'm saying that like it was exactly the same kind of stuff, and there was no freak out. It was just the approach was, oh, this is fine, and then later it was like, oh, we shouldn't have done that, and it's like, well, which is it?
That other guy murdered somebody, so it's fine for me. That's your argument?
If we're gonna start caring about this stuff now, start bothering a company that's not accomplishing something.
Somebody's got a bias here. And OpenAI have announced a while back that they were going to do their own chips because other chip makers weren't cool enough for them and they couldn't do it good enough. And apparently that turned out to be really hard.
Reuters headline is OpenAI builds its first chip with Broadcom and TSMC and scales back its foundry ambition.
They're probably like, wow, we already hemorrhage a lot of money and that's also very expensive to set up.
It shows that they have some wisdom, though. It's like, hey, we would have to have our own intellectual property to be able to shuttle around large amounts of data and deal with this. And these companies already know we're willing to share the wealth here. It doesn't matter.
Surely someone did a cost analysis before they started, though, right?
No.
Well, you do the cost analysis one day, the next day it's going to be like a third more because everybody wants this stuff. They are dying for these chips. They're fighting for them because you have to have exponentially more to keep making it better.
Meta's next Llama AI models are training on a GPU cluster bigger than anything else. Specifically, they're talking about Elon Musk's X supercluster thing, which is largely Supermicro. You should check out Patrick's video from Serve the Home on the Tesla X AI. I don't even know what to call it. Supercluster. But Zuckerberg was like, no, it's bigger than Elon Musk's. And it's just like,
Subtle. It's so much bigger.
Even if it's not, it's still massive.
It's so massive it no longer matters.
And that probably has a lot to do with this.
Nvidia overtakes Apple as the world's most valuable company. Nvidia's stock market value briefly touched $3.53 trillion, slightly above Apple's $3.52 trillion. And that's amazing considering that Apple makes money off of the backs of all of the App Store developers' apps. Can you imagine if Nvidia had an AI App Store, how much they would be worth?
I'm sure they're considering it.
Oh, they've already made significant progress in building said AI App Store.
Well, no, Apple makes money because they are brilliant when it comes to product design, right?
The new Mac Mini power button is on the bottom. Because you never want to turn it on or off. It's just always on. You don't need that power button unless something has gone wrong.
It's also on the bottom where the cables are, which means that tilting it up with cables hanging off of it is more annoying than if it were on the other side.
Sounds about right. They also didn't move the charging location for the mouse either, which is just...
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Oh, there it is.
Apple put the Magic Mouse's charging port on the bottom again because, of course. Of course. You ever see the Saturday Night Live skit about ass pennies? The guy's like, I just put a bunch of... it's like, I feel good because everybody's handling my ass pennies. This is Apple. This is Apple's version of ass pennies.
One of my design professors, like, for one of our classes, he actually saved one of those mice and showed it to us as an example of bad design. Like, when we were talking about bad design, he was like, look at this mouse. What's wrong with it?
And then they redesigned it, and they did it again.
Yeah, because ass pennies. Like, it's the only thing that makes sense.
Well, Intel might not be selling ass pennies, but they're also not selling a ton of these, apparently.
The headline is Apple hasn't sold a single Arrow Lake CPU at Germany's largest retailer. Core Ultra 200S sales stagnate after just 1 week. Can we import all of Germany? Like, can we open up the borders and bring them all over here? Because they seem like a smart, industrious people.
Well, they're cash users, which makes them terrorists.
Again, it's just like... this kind of terrorist, but not that kind of terrorist. Like, I'm getting confused here.
Now, this might be a pie in the sky technology. I try to avoid these, but I don't know. This one appealed to me for some reason.
Impact printing, quote unquote, is a cement-free alternative to 3D printed structures.
Oh, man, I forgot I was going to make Krista read
Yeah. I was just thinking, I was like, I don't remember how to pronounce it.
Cement.
Cement or cement. Is it?
So
I'm never going to correct. I want you to be wrong.
It is still an additive printing technology, but instead of using cement, it uses clay and gravel and sand, and the clay kind of acts as a binder. And so with that, they're like, hey, we figured out how to print walls that are reliable enough to construct 2-story structures where the structure's ceiling height is definitely not over 8 feet.
I wonder if anyone's ever tried doing that. It would be very messy, and you would still have to treat it to make it waterproof. But like, has anyone ever tried doing like a cob version of that? Because it's kind of the same principle.
The key here is the velocity. So it's kind of like, blasting it into place, and that holds it somehow. I don't know. Seems like a fun idea. And it's only like sand and dirt and gravel as your stuff that you have to use. So
Clay was the critical
binder,
ingredient.
yeah.
Easy to come up with.
It's basically like 3D printing with Adobe.
And while you are living in your impact printed pod, you might not have to go that far to get your daily berry slurry that will keep you alive.
World first indoor vertical farm to produce 4 million pounds of berries a year.
This is like something RimWorld coded.
Yeah.
This guy, the best quotes in this are the guys talking about he's like, yeah, we can, because look at the size of these things. He's like, we can get so many strawberries per meter squared. And it was something like you get, managed to get strawberries to produce 6 kilograms versus the average 2 kilograms from a regular strawberry plant.
They do really well in small spaces. They will also propagate themselves aggressively.
And there's no insects. Yeah.
Well, how do they pollinate them?
Oh, they talked about that too. They claim that their indoor pollination better than bees.
Wow,
Well, that's
the
good
bees-
because we're not going to have those.
Yeah. No, their Save the Bees campaign just went way down.
You know what they're going to do? They're going to send out a return to office notice to the bees
Oh.
to try to get them to quit. And Dropbox is not using that tactic. They're doing the old-fashioned.
Dropbox is laying off 20% of its staff. At least they're being upfront with the staff.
They said, we overinvested and underperformed, which is another refreshing piece of honesty, huh?
I
I
mean,
mean, why does it make you feel good if you're one of the people laid off? But at least they were honest to you.
with modern infrastructure as code, you could run a service like Dropbox with a record small number of staff, I think.
Well, apparently you can't run VMware with that kind of small staff because, boy, do they need more and more income now that Broadcom has purchased them.
300% price hike pushes disgruntled VMware customers toward Broadcom rivals. This story talks a lot about that, which is really interesting. One thing that's left off in this story is Broadcom's VMware workstation product is now apparently going to be based on Linux KVM. So they're not even developing their own proprietary virtualization stack anymore, which is the whole reason to use VMware, at least for the workstation product. The workstation product is going to be open source, but not open source because they're not investing any more development in it. They're just saying, yeah, KVM's good enough. We'll just do that, which is...
Well, that's because every hardware and software company apparently except Supermicro. And this one is horrible.
Steam games will now need to fully disclose kernel-level anti-cheat on store pages. This is fantastic. So what has been happening lately is with Steam games, there have been games that have not had kernel-level anti-cheat for years, decades even in the case of GTA 5, and then they add kernel-level anti-cheat, which breaks a lot of things. It can break compatibility with Linux, and in a lot of cases it does. It definitely breaks compatibility with the Steam Deck. And so Valve has had enough of it. They're like, well, we did see that you used to play GTA 5 on your Steam Deck a lot, and now you can't because Valve has added kernel-level anti-cheat. So I guess we'll give you a refund, but they won't give you just anybody a refund on GTA 5. You have to have had, your play history and Linux and that sort of thing. But Valve can sidestep all that if they just say it's like the game says that it has kernel-level anti-cheat or not right on the store page. The other thing that article misses is Microsoft. It does not like kernel-level anti-cheat at all. And so Microsoft is doing a lot of work to try to make it to where that is not a thing.
I'm assuming this one does have it.
Yeah.
And it's also very unreasonably large.
Call of Duty's massive file size drives peak internet usage. Call of Duty Black Ops 6, not even a little bit optimized, over 100 gigabytes.
I thought it was 300.
Or 300 gigabytes.
Yeah. So it pushed... and Comcast bragged that they had moved a record amount of data that day. And then somebody at The Verge pointed out, I was like, yeah, and if you're Xfinity, that's like most of your cap in one day. Also, some TV show came out that people binged apparently that day. October 25th was a
Busy day.
big data day. And Microsoft, at least they recognize the PR disaster, right? They're doing the wait and let it cool down thing, but
Every time they bring it back up, it just gets worse.
yeah, to everyone's credit, no one's cooling down about this.
Microsoft just delayed recall again. Microsoft says it needs more time to make sure the AI feature is secure and trusted.
It never will be. So stop trying to make recall happen. It's not going to happen.
It's amazing that Microsoft is still this bad at security.
Also, people like the whole corporate espionage, return to office, spy on your workers thing. It's like, hey, it's present in our minds, Microsoft. We're worried about it. And the people at WordPress should be worried because what is going on over there? There's an insane civil war, and now they are very carefully, it seems like, gathering up all the pieces so that they can control them.
The headline is WordPress forces user conference organizers to share social media credentials, arousing suspicions.
Why do you shorten conference?
Maybe there's a character limit in the headline.
That is a lot of characters.
Because maybe they're using WordPress.
This headline must have been a struggle for them too, because that doesn't really convey the lunacy of what's happening here. It's basically if you've got a WordPress user conference, like, hey, let's get together and share notes and war stories. The WordPress, like Matt Mullenweg, I guess, basically wants to bring everybody together to say, we control what you say. And so one of the conference organizers here had tweeted something positive about WP Engine, who WordPress is, that's the feud. It's like WP Engine versus, and it's like, you said something positive about them. We're going to need you to delete that before we okay you having a get together. And it's like, I'm sorry, did you even need to okay us getting together as a user conference to begin with? Because we just are developers that work on this. Why do we need your permission to get together and be like, let's share developer war stories?
Seems like maybe a little bit of, megalomania. That's the word I'm looking for there.
He's salty, I think, because WP Engine is making, like tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. Meanwhile, his organization is making ones or tens of millions of dollars. And it's like, wait a minute.
You know what they're both making? Garbage software. Over at GitHub, they are opening up their doors to everybody in the comparison.
GitHub Copilot moves beyond OpenAI models to support Claude 3.5 and Gemini. So basically, if you want to run GitHub Copilot not with ChatGPT, you totally can, which is good because ChatGPT for coding tasks really has been hit and miss for 6 months or more compared to even just models you can download from Hugging Face.
And you might have missed this. I think actually they updated the story to say that there's a wait list, but you can go and sign up if you want for whatever reason.
Apple Intelligence is out. iOS 18 Cornerstone software is finally shipping. At least the first part of it is. The waitlist is weird, though. The only two people I know that signed up to the waitlist got in within 4 hours of being added to the waitlist.
Is it just the image of exclusivity? Is that what
Yeah,
they're
I think it
looking
is.
for? Yeah.
It's not all the stuff that they promised either. It's mostly just writing messages and stuff for you right now. A lot of it's designed around helping you write things, which on your phone, I guess a lot of people do that. Seems insane to me. And Google, boy, do they want to control your speech. They know that they shouldn't. Somewhere in the back of their mind, there's a little voice like, that's illegal. But they just can't help themselves.
The Verge's headline is Google has been accused of violating labor law for asking workers to, quote unquote, refrain from talking about antitrust case. And it does seem like there is black and white evidence of using exactly that language and terminology. It's like, you should refrain from, it's like,
Do not criticize the company.
Now, there are really weird rules about this. So that if they tell you not to talk about the court case, that's okay. Because you're not supposed to talk about pending litigation or whatever. But just in general, talking about antitrust at Google, that would be okay.
if you're standing around and it's like, are we the baddies? That is protected speech. They can't ask you to not talk about that. They can't ask you to not look inward. Oh, this one is amazing.
This one.
We cannot touch this one with a 10-foot pole, but we will, and you should go read it.
I feel like this was kind of one of the stories of the week. Like, this was everywhere.
There's a healthy dose of bias here.
Yes.
But is it deserved for what? I mean, come on.
I attended Google's creator thing, and it turned into a funeral. And I messed up the headline on purpose because you really got to go. Like,
you're watching this platform or watching this on YouTube.
You gotta go read this, and it's scathing. But I also knew one of the people that apparently witnessed some of this, and like this is as it is kind to what went on, and so it's just like, my goodness.
They know that they're trashing the search engine. And they don't really care.
They don't. I don't think they know. I think this shows that they're so far disconnected from what normal people experience that they don't know.
But if they don't know after this, it's because they willfully ignored this person who tried over and over to tell them.
Like 25
they
people.
claim they did.
Yeah, across all walks of.
And it seems like this whole event, the purpose was, hey, why don't you come and tell us?
Get some feedback. Yeah, user experience.
Yeah, I understand if some of the thing here is like there's a sea change, like the world is changing, like your Buggy Whip blog is no longer relevant. But not only was the Buggy Whip blog no longer relevant, the really hilarious thing was that if you search for this article, the number one links for this article was on Hacker News and Reddit followed by the article itself. And like old Google was smart enough to say, everybody's talking about the thing. Let me put the thing at the top and then put the discussions below that. But new Google is so stupid that it is incapable of doing that.
I don't think it's stupid.
I think it's intentional.
Yeah.
That guy does cite a lot of evidence that speaks to its intentionality.
Well, let me give you some more evidence that it might be intentional to destroy the internet and focus everything down to a couple of very small points.
Reddit is profitable for the first time ever with nearly 100 million daily users. Reddit
Half
says
of
it's
them are bots.
are up 47% year over year after the purge.
Disgusting. I'm sad to say that I do use it sometimes.
Thank you for subscribing to us and/or store.level1text.com. Nervous whimpering.
And here is one of my favorite genres of news article. The "we accidentally forgot to redact" article, because this is where you will get the most truth.
Apple urged TikTok to increase its age recommendations, redacted documents show. South Carolina's suit against TikTok unintentionally revealed past warnings from Apple about the platform's content. This is wild, too, because Apple usually doesn't warn. They just find something to make your life horrible about that was always fine. And in this case, they were like, you should make these changes. It's like, we're not going to. It's like, well, okay, I guess.
Also, here in Kentucky, they did the same thing and talked a little bit more about, the whole argument about, like, I don't know, is TikTok bad for the teens? Well, according to the accidentally unredacted document from Kentucky, very much yes. Very much. And this is something that I guess we didn't talk about the other one yet, but this is the new thing, right? And Google has to be really upset.
Meta builds AI search engine to cut Google Bing reliance and the information reports. I don't know what the information was. I don't remember that part.
No, the information is the
news,
website.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is a paywall
The source.
alternative.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Meta is probably going to succeed with this because of the aforementioned things being so bad that, like, it's bad. It's really bad. Like, a couple of precocious teenagers could build a better search engine at this point.
And if you're on social media, maybe you want to be noticed on social media, and you're out there and you're documenting your life, and you're like, wow, I just don't feel like I'm getting the same treatment as the big players. Well, you're right in a lot of ways.
Instagram saves the best quality video for the most popular content. And if the video is not older or not very popular, they're going to give you the swill quality to save on storage and bandwidth.
They're applying to their platform the same thing that they use in their business strategy, right? Like only the top players get attention. Anything else on the internet, that's AI generated. We don't care. And over at Meta, the bad idea. Whew. This horse, it's like atomically broken down now. There's nothing left. And yet they still beat it.
Meta's Reality Labs posts its $4.4 billion loss in the third quarter. And it's clinging tenaciously onto its glasses, which really are an AI product, but could also maybe lead to something that's augmented reality. So it's the whole Ray-Ban glasses versus augmented reality glasses, like a crossover thing. Now, their augmented reality glasses, for the people that have tried it, could be promising. Like, Zuckerberg may get his metaverse after all with those. Maybe.
No.
Well, it's more likely than the Google Glass headset. Or
And the Apple one.
Apple headset, yeah.
But maybe the biggest loser in social media this week was none other than the name that we must not mention.
The CNN business headline is Trump loses $1.3 billion in net worth after the worst ever day for his stock, social media stock. But the headline could have just as well been a lot of American retiree hopefuls have lost billions and billions of dollars off of their retirement portfolio in the worst day ever for the stock market in a long time.
Harvesting the leaks. And X is a paragon of free speech, except in every country other than the United States.
X blocks access to more than 100 journalists and activist accounts in Turkey.
They didn't even give them the Brazil treatment. They were just like, you know what? We know how this plays out. Fine. We'll do whatever you say. Which is what every other social media company does.
I thought there's a good headline in something like a cooked turkey or a...
Oh, yeah, for Thanksgiving. We could do that.
No, I mean, like for the news headline. It's like, X gonna cook your turkey? I don't know.
We're getting there. We'll workshop it. By the time you guys see it, you'll see a pun.
You give us your version of it.
Yeah. Too bad we can't steal the title after. We have to come up with those puns ourselves.
I don't know. You get it early if you're on Patreon. So.
Yeah. All right. We will see you guys on Friday. Bye.